Welcome to Lemoore City Council Chambers, 429 C Street. This is the meeting for April 18th, 2023. Please silence all electronic devices as a courtesy to those in attendance. Thank you. This is our 5:30 meeting. If you could stand for the invocation and then remain standing for the Pledge of Allegiance.
We can all bow our heads and close our eyes for a moment of reverence for the Lord. Dear Heavenly Father, we thank you for this opportunity to be in your presence and to be gathered together, Father, for the purpose of deciding, determining, and for figuring out, Father, what is best for your people here in your city. As we stand below the sign that says, "In God we trust," may we truly trust in you, Father, and your will. Father, I pray for a blessing upon this council, our chief of police, and all that are here today, Father, Lord. And I pray that you sensitize us always to know your voice and to know your will. And we pray all these things in the mighty name of Jesus Christ, our Lord and Savior, and all God's people said.
Amen.
Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Marissa, can you please take the roll?
Councilmember Garza. Councilmember Lyons.
Here.
Councilmember Orth.
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Gornick.
Sure about that?
Yes.
Okay. I am too. Here.
And Mayor Matthews.
Here.
Thank you.
Any agenda approval additions and or deletions?
Yeah, so 4-1 is going to be pulled. The property was already abated. No need for the hearing by the property owner.
Thank you. Study session SS-1 2022 Lemoore Police Department Annual Report. Chief Kendall.
Good evening, Mayor and council members. It is my pleasure to present to you the 2022 annual report. For members of the community, this report has been posted to our webpage and you can view it at any time. This report is 24 pages and I'll try to be brief and just keep to the high points. But if at any time members of the council would like to stop or have a question, just let me know. Page 5, starting with page 5. Starting with the operations division, traffic enforcement saw an increase from the 1,089 citations we issued in 2021. In 2022, officers issued a total of 1,884 traffic citations. Officers issued 409 warning citations, 650 moving violations, and 601 parking citations.
I got a question.
Sure.
So 352% increase on parking. Where did these take place at? Like, was there something that changed significantly from us to go to 133 to 601 on the parking?
So a lot of those, yes. A lot of those were the downtown, the new signs that went out.
Yeah.
A lot of those are just warnings. Specifically for the parking citations. There's no really way in order to track those parking citations because it's just, we don't have warning parking citations. We just have to check warning on them.
So how about this? Of those 601, are these parking just warnings or are they violations or?
Some of them are warnings, some of them are actual
Okay.
citations.
So they didn't all generate.
No,
Okay.
they're not all generated from downtown for sure.
Well, I meant like a fine.
No, they
Yeah.
did not all generate a fine.
Because that's a significant increase, 352%.
Right.
So
And a lot of our parking citations, the large majority of our parking citations are complaint driven. We work with the apartment managers a lot of times. And again, our traffic enforcement our one guy does not have enough time to issue out
Yeah,
six
that's,
hundred traffic sites.
I just, I thought something changed,
me.
maybe a law changed or something. Because when I read that, I was like, oh my goodness,
No,
I
like
meant to
said,
ask you this between just you and I, but
no, for
it's also
sure.
a good thing to let the public know, I guess.
No, absolutely. A lot of them were warnings.
Right on.
Well, I have a follow-up to that if I
Sure.
can. So you said it had to do with the apartments?
No, a lot of times like I said, all of ours are, a large majority of them are complaint driven. So we've been working with a lot of the apartment managers, trying to enforce like some of the red zone violations, people parking in the fire lanes and whatnot.
Well, I had the same impression when I saw the increase. I was curious to know where you thought the issue was and if you needed help in that area.
No,
Okay,
no. Um,
all right.
like I said, I think it was the result of going out there and proactively kind of enforcing, getting on top of the warning system in downtown. Because we went out there on several occasions and wrote 30, 40, 50, 60 tickets, or not tickets, but warnings,
Warnings.
where we actually had to
Yeah,
write paper and issue a warning.
so these citations include warnings?
Correct.
Okay, you don't know what the breakout is?
I don't. The computer doesn't track without going through each and every single one of them by hand, because it's again, it's just a small little parking ticket.
Gotcha.
So yeah.
Okay.
There were 112 traffic accidents in 2021. This was up from the 95 reported last year. DUI arrests were up. We made 145 DUI arrests last year compared to the 92 the year prior. On page 6, Marissa, overall call for service last year were up. LPD responded to or self-initiated 43,105 calls for service. Response time for priority 1 calls for service was 3 minutes and 45 seconds. And we averaged a response time of 4 minutes, 54 seconds for all calls for service. Last year it was 5 minutes and 37 seconds. Page 7. On to crime stats. We made a total of 1,787 arrests last year. This was up by about 191 from the year prior. Felony cases were up from last year by 50 for a total of 787. And misdemeanor cases were also up by about 401 to total 2,057. As I reported out previously during a council meeting, we did not have any homicides, which was the first time since 2018. Rapes, larceny, auto thefts, burglaries, and robberies were all down from the previous year. The only increase we saw was in the number of reported assaults. That number, we've been trying to evaluate why that's up by around 100. These categories right here, it's kind of the big 7 that we report to the FBI or uniform crime reporting. And I think it's really just how that it encompasses assaults encompasses a lot of different areas, a lot of different categories. When you think of an assault, people tend to think it's just people fighting. But it's we did see a number of increase in fights taking place at the schools. But it's really it encompasses domestic violence calls. It can encompass a shooting. It's kind of a wide band, and I think it's just how the FBI is now capturing this, because we can't really, there's nothing that really sticks out over last year's or the years previous reporting, other than they've changed the way it's captured, if that makes sense. Moving on to the support division. The detective division was assigned 355 cases, an increase of about 95. Even with this increase, they maintained a 90% clearance rate. Our youth development officers continue to be busy at the schools. Officer Ortega, assigned to the high schools, was involved in 600 incidents and had 87 investigations. Officer Gonzalez, assigned to the elementary schools and the middle school, was involved in 700 incidents and investigated 123 cases, an increase of about 29. Our evidence technician, Elizabeth Halstead, also falls within our detective division. She processed over 6,000 items of evidence and ensures that all evidentiary items are made available for discovery and for legal proceedings. We seized 37 guns as evidence last year. 12 of those were recovered stolen firearms. 29 were safekeeping and 2 as found. 37 was seized as evidence. So a total was 68 guns seized last year. Our community service officers handled 1,822 calls for service, 301 property maintenance, 69 vehicle abatements, 375 weed abatements, and conducted 939 compliance checks. Animal control handled 1,822 calls for service. Our reserve program continues to be successful. Reserve officers worked over 3,618 hours. They responded to 3,594 calls for service, made 248 arrests. 3 of those reserve officers were ultimately hired to full-time positions last year. And then the last thing I'll report out on tonight is our community outreach during 2022. Our PALC program continues to grow, and our Explorer program has maintained 10 to 15 explorers throughout the year. Last year's National Night Out event drew the largest crowd we have ever seen. We now have 99 active neighborhood watch groups and crime-free multi-housing managers, all of which meet on a regular basis at the police department. We were able to reach 67 families and 210 children during Reason for the Season, and 12 families and 33 children during Presence on Patrol. Red Ribbon Week, our shoe drive, and Santa for Seniors were also very successful programs last year. Without the help of our volunteers in policing program, who donated 3,497 hours last year, none of these programs would have been so successful. And lastly, I'd like to thank Executive Assistant Valerie Caceres for putting this together. I always tell her she can't do a better job than she did last year, but she always finds a way to improve it. So again, with that, I'll take any questions you have.
Chief, I've got a couple of questions. First, I want to give you you and the guys, congratulations, you and the officers, your action at the high school this past week.
Thank you.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Got a lot of positive comments from individuals about the quick response, and a couple parents called me that they were directed away from the school as they were coming in to get their student, but they were not offended by the way in which they were directed, which I thought was pretty cool. So
it's good. Thank you.
Yeah, congratulations on that. The other, you had mentioned the increase in DUIs. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Any breakdown on that in terms of alcohol or marijuana or any substance?
Yeah, I did, because I anticipated this question based off of last year. And so I was looking at really how many, without going through each and individual, every individual case, because when you're arrested for DUI under drugs, not alcohol, it doesn't specifically state and capture what drug or alcohol until you go in and read the actual report, right? It was about average. We had a few. It was less than 10, and it's just not really seeing an increase here with driving under the influence of marijuana. I think we had more driving under the influence of methamphetamine. you know, so
Okay,
the increase in DUIs, we just have some officers that found a passion with trying to
good.
trying to get those off the street.
Yeah, they're
in
not
all
on the
honesty.
road hurting anybody. Yeah,
And then, and that creates competition. And I'm a true believer that everything we do in life is a competition, and
good.
the officers feed off of that. And they go out and make more DUI arrests, which is good because it keeps, you know, I mean, we did have one fatal traffic accident last year, but really it was a result of a medical condition. So,
Good.
you know,
You know, the other thing, you reported the felonies.
Uh-huh.
Were any of those, interested in the relationship you have with the DA? Is, any of those felonies pled down to misdemeanors or?
none that, none that was really, that would really draw my attention in all honesty. A lot of those felony and a lot of those misdemeanor arrests are driven from proactive enforcement.
Mhm.
We're getting a lot more warrant arrests because we go and we make a traffic stop. We, you know, for some type of moving violation. And then we run that driver and find out that they have a warrant, or a passenger in their car has a warrant. Because again, the amount of traffic stops conducted throughout the year, I think I talked about it before, they were significantly higher. But it's really just time. There's a little bit more time to do that work. We kind of got back up to the staffing levels that we were used to. We kind of had,
Mhm.
there's a lot of variables involved. I mean, we had a lot of injuries this year, a lot of work-related injuries where officers were out for an extended period of time for torn rotator cuffs, you know, knees, things like of that nature that is going to take, you know, them to have a surgery.
Right.
Well, if we lose 4 people, that's almost an entire shift.
Yeah.
You know, and so when you're battling that, I kind of referred to last year and really the beginning of this year, the year of the injury, because that's what we were battling.
Yeah.
Our reserve officer saved us again, you know.
Just one final request. We had a great presentation last week about from one of your officers. I can't recall his name, but it had to do with property abatement.
Lieutenant Santos.
Yes.
Mhm.
Yeah. When I asked about how long it took or whatever, it was almost like two years.
Right.
Is there any way you can look in to speed that up? You don't have to answer now. I'll just.
No, I don't.
Yeah.
I will. And I'm aware of this residence.
Well, I don't mean a particular one. But the
Yeah.
process was in play for a while, so that's all.
And I think, you know, yes and no. A lot of times when it gets to the point where we're going to have to take it to council and we're going to have to formally abate this property, that gets people's attention. Because they know the actual repercussions are going to come. We can tell them that, but they don't believe us until they see it posted. And we go and physically post it on their door or on their window saying this is going to council. And that's what took this individual really to clean up,
Okay.
you know, and sometimes, I mean, I mean, you've heard me say it before that we want voluntary compliance, right? We don't want to force any issue, especially on something like this, especially when it comes to personal property and infringing upon those rights. But on the flip side, maybe sometimes we do give people the benefit of the doubt a little too often. And it's a balance, and I don't want to take any discretion away from an officer or from a community service officer.
But at the same time, we get the same concerns.
Absolutely.
Somebody will say, hey, how come I'm getting picked on, but Gornick over there, he's got a barbecue stand in his front
Absolutely.
yard, you know?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Something we can work on.
I like to kind of piggyback off the question, and I'll ask it a little bit more direct, I think. Have you noticed, or do you guys track the difference? Obviously, you track how many cases you turn in to the district attorney's office. Do you guys track how many of them actually go to fruition, as in, you know, final case? And have you seen, or do you guys track the disposition of those compared to year over year? And if you don't,
We don't
Okay.
currently. And there's not a, necessarily a mechanism in the records management system that we would be able to do that. We do get notified on all cases that are declined, I guess, by the district attorney's office.
Do you track those?
No. No.
Okay.
Why not?
What's that?
Why not?
Time. Oh,
Well, I mean,
Well, again, the records management system isn't set up to do that. And so now we're gonna have to assign a person to do that. I mean, I guess we could.
well, I mean, I don't know.
A lot of times they come back with follow-up, right? They'll decline it and they'll say, hey, you need to go do this, that, and the other thing to do it. So it gets returned back to the officer. They go do whatever the necessary follow-up is. And then it's up to the DA's office on to whether or not they are going to file that case if they feel that there's enough evidence to do so. You know,
I'm not trying to beat a dead horse. I'm just.
yeah, I understand it.
I guess my do the officers find out, or do they know, hey, I have to, obviously if they get the letter, hey, you got to go do more work, you know, obviously they know that, so they have to go do more work. I'm trying to just figure out without paying someone extra to do it, or do we feel it's more or less in past history, the declines? And there's a reason why I'm
I
asking,
understand.
because I'm hearing that that's the nature across the board. And so, you know, with consequences, if we're going to do all this work to do all this resting and doing all this, and then 75% of them are being dropped, we need to know if 75% of our cases are being dropped.
I don't think there's enough body of work. We're talking about essentially a 4-month time frame,
Yeah.
you know. I mean, I could look into it and I could see what this first 6 months ends up being versus the last January to July of 2022 was.
I hate to make you do more work than you already
I don't
have
know
to
how
do,
much,
but-
I honestly don't know how much work would be involved.
Okay.
Because we get the DA transmittal, right? And it's a piece of paper.
Yeah.
And we have to go in and all record staff is doing is going into that case, entering what the DA transmittal was, whether it was denied, sent back to the officer for further follow-up or filed.
Okay. I mean,
It may be easy. I don't know, without talking to a records clerk, you know.
well, thank you for your input, because it's
I'll look into
something
it.
that I'd like to not necessarily articulate that we have to do, but I'd like to know that. So moving forward, because if we're not getting the action, maybe there's a reason, maybe there's not a reason. And
Sure.
I know it's not our officers.
No, I mean, on a regular basis, we get, you know, compliments from the district attorney's office saying how well
That's
written our
good.
reports are and whatnot. So I know it's not on our end.
Yeah.
You know?
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you. You guys did a great job.
Thank you.
Mr. Lyons, did you have any other questions?
No, I'm good.
I just want to thank you for your report, and thank you guys for everything that you do for the community, not only in keeping us safe, but the things that you guys do above and beyond throughout the year, just to help out people in our community and just building that relationship with the citizens here. It makes you guys stand out. I say it all the time, but hopefully that doesn't sound complacent. I really do appreciate you guys and all the work that you do.
Well, thank you. It's appreciated. And sure.
Is there any public comment for Chief?
Thank you, Madam Mayor, Council Alex Walker. I had a couple questions for the chief, but before I ask, I wanted to express my deep appreciation for the Lemoore Police Department and the people who serve. I can't thank them enough for what they do to the community, and I have a deep respect for what they do. Chief, I wanted to ask you a couple questions. They might sound a little similar, but I can give some further clarification if you like. I wanted to ask, Do you feel like there's any resources missing currently that can help keep Lemoore safer and improve policing?
The cameras. Oh,
Right. I mean, there's always ways that we can improve, and there's always ways that we're trying to improve upon. The cameras, yeah, that would be great.
Like body cameras?
No, and again, we are like very early on in my career, I looked at Lemoore and I looked at other agencies, and Lemoore was always going in the right direction when it came to equipment, items, and things. And it wasn't always that way, right? I mean, I would come into work and I'd try to find a patrol car, and I couldn't find a patrol car, and I didn't have a computer, and the ones that did have a computer, they had to take an asp out and tap it on the top of the computer to get to work. But they were always moving in the right direction. Our fleet is, you have to have a car to drive from point A to point B. The body cameras, we were one of the first agencies. We were the first agency in Kings County to have body cameras, and we were the first agency in Kings County to outfit every single officer, including our CSOs, with body cameras. Tasers, another thing. We were the first agency in Kings County to issue out tasers. Patrol rifles. We weren't the first one to issue out patrol rifles, but we were the first ones to deploy something that was more feasible than a Ruger that you got out of evidence, if that makes sense. And so we have always been going in the right directions when it comes to the items and things. Now, obviously, when a new equipment or new piece of item comes available, we're going to try it. We're going to test it out. We're going to T&E it before we actually deploy it and see what it's, how feasible it is to implement it into our equipment. The cameras, something I've wanted for a long time. On top of that is the license plate reader cameras.
that's what I was
Right.
referring to.
I've sat down with them, with the vendor, and I've, been provided a map of where they want and where they think we should do it. And I think it's something that we'll ultimately do once we get through this budget cycle, and see what's, where that overall cost falls, because I need vehicles before I need cameras. Because again, I have to have a vehicle to send an officer to somebody's house. Same thing, our body worn cameras, it's a huge cost. But the amount of complaints that are just completely squashed because of it, or don't come in at all because they know that we have them, that's a number you can't record.
Yeah.
So it's always a balance. There's always some type of dichotomy.
Similar to that note, I wanted to ask, I think recent events have exemplified public safety concerns in our town and our community and across the nation. Not to put you on the spot either, but are there any policies that you would recommend to help improve the issues you identified?
Well, I only have control over so much, right? And then it's not my role to implement law. It's the police department's role to enforce those laws that somebody else created. And so I don't have any. I don't get afforded an opinion either way, to be in all honesty. Now, when it comes to the municipal code, Nathan and I, Mary, we sit down on a regular basis and try to make those better, make those more streamlined, just like Councilmember Gornick said. How do we streamline the code enforcement issues that we're dealing with on a regular basis? Because it's the same people, it's the same properties that we deal with every time the spring comes around and we're dealing with winter weeds, and it takes coming to council to get them to finally clean it up or whatever the case is. I think that we do a good job of working with other city staff to where if there is something of great concern, From a municipality standpoint, we get it addressed relatively quick.
I appreciate your answer, and I wanted to move over to a similar topic. We looked at the numbers, we saw that there's 20 rapes, we saw the number of assaults increase, and considering other violent crimes such as domestic violence, outside of your interactions with the victims and survivors, what support resources exist in our community to not only help them pursue a case if that's what they choose to do, but to help their well-being and their health, and to overall help them overcome this experience?
So in our county, as in any other county or within the state, you have victim witness is a huge resource that they will essentially assign you a worker to your case and assign those victims a worker to those case. Are you familiar with the Marcy law? And I mean, by law, we have to hand each individual a victim of domestic violence an actual card with a whole laundry list of resources for them and able to get them out of that situation. That's more than likely not the first time it's happened that's escalated to our involvement. But yeah.
And my last question tonight, and again, council, thank you for the opportunity to be able to ask, and thank you, chief, for your time. We expect a lot from our officers. We expect you guys to be mental health professionals, health people in certain circumstances, in addition to the immense service you provide to our community. I wanted to ask how do you feel about your officers being supported by not only our community, but with the job that they're handed, and anything we can do to help their well-being and improve the safety of their job and the outcomes of their job?
So that's a little softball question as far as I'm concerned. We live in the city of Lemoore, and the citizens overwhelmingly support us. And it's easy to, especially from, a 21, 22, 23-year-old kid that just got out of the academy, who is almost force-fed this narrative that the cops are bad and that the public doesn't want law enforcement, the public doesn't, whatever the case is, right? Choose a narrative off of whatever news media you want. But that's just not the case in Lemoore. We saw it during the George Floyd riots. There was kids, high school kids, peaceably assembling within their constitutional right. And they weren't doing it, outside the scope of the law. And then on the flip side, we had people going down Fox Street, going down Cinnamon, hanging blue ribbons on trees, and I think that, yeah, it's easy to get overwhelmed with that type of narrative when it's force fed to you by the media. It's just not the case here. Our officers know that it's not going to fly here. That's not the way we've ever done business, and you will be held accountable for your actions. So we just don't have it here.
Next time I won't give you a softball, but thank you again for your time and your service to our community.
Any other public comment? Okay, right after Ms. Marsh.
My name is Melanie Marsh, and on April 6th, I wrote a letter regarding the downtown sidewalks being raised and the benches being busted. I addressed it to
If I could
Excuse
interrupt
me.
you real quick, I think you're looking for the public comment that's coming after our closed session, correct?
No,
It
just
has
right
to
now. I just
do with
wanted
it.
to,
Annual police report?
no,
Then it needs, my
No.
apologies, it needs to wait for the public comment section. This is public comment for this item of the study session.
Oh, I'm sorry.
You're okay. No worries.
You're good. We do it all the time.
Yeah, you're good. You had one on online? Go ahead, Marissa.
Yes, good evening, honorable council members and Madam Mayor. First, I want to thank Chief Kendall and our officers for their service. I do have two questions regarding the report, and my name is Johnny Garza. I'm the council member not present. My first question is, how many of the guns that you confiscated this last year, how many were there? How many were from the schools? Was there any from like our colleges or high schools or middle schools? If you have that number, if not, maybe we can get it sometime soon.
No. None of them. None of them from last year.
Good.
We have one this year.
Okay, yeah, I know that's okay. So my second question or follow-up is what is our relationship between the schools and our PDs regarding any of the active shooter training, emergency crisis management, and then is there a plan that is between the Lemoore PD and the schools as far as like reunification if an actual school shooting happens or any kind of an emergency?
Yeah, so we have an outstanding relationship with our schools, and I use that term a lot, but this is a really good relationship. Lieutenant Santos right now, he is the support lieutenant. He oversees the school resource officers assigned to the school. He's in direct contact with Mr. Brummett from Lemoore High, Mrs. Hunt from the district office, every principal in the elementary school district. He has their phone number and they're in direct contact all the time. Maybe not him, but our officers, and he does it on, several occasions. But he goes out to each school throughout the year and make sure that they're following our plan and they know that what our response is going to be. There shouldn't be any questions as to what's going to happen when we arrive at the school. And it comes down to the little things. He was having a conversation with Mr. Brummett today about really debriefing what occurred last week and what we need from the school in order to do our jobs better. And a simple thing like a large school map in the admin building that we can write on that's laminated. You can use a grease pencil or dry erase, whatever, up in the admin building. And then have one in our command post, just in case we can't utilize their admin building at whatever school as a command post. We get requests all the times from teachers after a lockdown drill that, hey, I was unsure as to what we were supposed to do here and why. A school resource officer or Lieutenant Santos will go out there and ensure that every teacher knows exactly what we're expecting of them and what we are expecting to find once we get there. We train at all the schools. We usually have at least one big event, one big active shooter event a year, just because it's really hard to coordinate with the school schedule when there's nobody on campus. This year just happened to be held at Lemoore High. We hadn't been there in a couple years. But it's important to kind of circle back with some of our newer officers to get them more familiar with the ins and outs of the schools. We know the general campus, but if you don't know where, if you're not from Lemoore, if you weren't born and raised in Lemoore, you need to know where the auditorium is in the English building at Lemoore High. Or where the 200 building is out at West Hills College. So you're not caught off guard as a patrol officer responding and they tell you to go to the Lincoln Library or the Lincoln Room at, Lemoore Elementary. So yeah, we have a great partnership with with all the schools, really.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Absolutely.
Chief, I'd like to make a comment off of Councilman Garza's point. That might be something you feature in your report, your annual report. with the schools training? Because I know you do it.
Yeah.
I've been on one of the campuses when it's occurred and
Yeah, I think it's in our training.
yeah, but I mean,
manual.
in terms of a highlight, you know,
Sure.
just so that as citizens look at it, it becomes more visible. It's
Absolutely.
obviously and you guys do a great job at it, I
Yeah.
think, and give yourself credit for it and everything.
No, absolutely. And we've gone away from kind of the old days of standing at the range and shooting at paper targets. You know, I never understood that. It didn't make any sense to me because in any shooting, somebody is typically shooting back at you and they're moving. And so we try to hold, we obviously still have to go shoot out, you know, live fire, but it's going to be more scenario based training. And we've done a really good job of doing that over the last few years.
You know, Chief, one thing real quick,
Yes, sir.
Dad, you were talking about getting these maps with the grease pencils and all that for the,
Mhm.
so we have those in the fire department. We call it a pre-fire plan.
Right.
And they're in every truck. You could ask Faith, she'd probably build you a pre-fire plan book, and it's amazing wealth of knowledge. It kind of shows you, but you're not going to want to know the stuff that we know. We want to know where like the gas shut off is
Right.
and the water mains and all that kind of stuff and the fire load control panels. But that would be a good thing for you guys to have now that I think about it.
It'd be an outstanding thing. to
Yeah,
have.
it would be
They may want to know where the gas things turn off, just in
Yeah.
case someone's putting
yeah,
a bomb
that
there.
might be a bad idea for you
You
guys.
don't want to throw a flashbang next to a gas.
Thank you very much.
You got to think about that kind of stuff.
It turned out bad.
You might want to just go crack one of those things and just start flipping through it. It's
Right.
got every apartment building, every school, every large building like the Save Mart,
Yeah.
Kmart, all that stuff. All big buildings and commercial buildings.
It's
We have a
perfect.
pre-fire plan for all of them.
It's perfect. Get a hold of Faith tomorrow.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Good job.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Thank you, Chief.
Awesome. Saved us $2.
Moving on to closed session. These items have been set aside by the city council to meet in the closed session to discuss matters pursuant to government code section 54956 .9 D4. The city attorney will provide an oral report regarding the closed session. We have item number 1, conference with real property negotiators, government code section 45956.8, property APN 204-052-004. Agency negotiator Nathan Olson, city manager, negotiating parties Keller Williams Real Estate. Under negotiation, price and terms. Number 2, government code section 54957.6. Conference with labor negotiator, agency designated representatives, Mary Lerner, city attorney, and Michelle Spear, assistant city manager. Employee organizations, General Association of Service Employees, Lemoore Police Officers Association, Lemoore Police Sergeants Unit, Police Professional Services Bargaining Unit, and unrepresented. We're going to go into closed session right now. It should be rather brief, maybe about 10 minutes. So if you guys would like sit tight, we'll be right back. Public comment will be in accordance with the attached policy. This time is reserved for members of the audience to address the city council on items of interest that are not on the agenda and are within the subject matter jurisdiction of the council. It is recommended that speakers limit their comments to 3 minutes each, and it is requested no comments be made during this period on items on the agenda. The council is prohibited by law from taking any action on matters discussed that are not on the agenda. Prior to addressing the council, any handouts for council will be provided to the city clerk for distribution to the council and appropriate staff. Public will have an opportunity to comment on items on the agenda once the item has been called and the mayor opens the item to the public. So public comment. Now,
Good evening, Mayor and Councilman. Again, my name is Melanie Marsh. And I wrote a letter to Mr. Olson regarding the raised sidewalks downtown. And I just wanted confirmation, if I could, that you did in fact receive the letter in your email.
yes, I
Okay.
did.
And the adopt a planner
Mhm.
thing, very good. So Wendy LaRoe and we developed the brochure for the recreation department. We put this together for all the people who would be interested in adopting a planter downtown. Some of the planters now have been in effect for a year, and so now the plants are really starting to flourish. We still have several planters that are still available. So if any of you are interested in adopting a planter, or you have neighbors or friends that might be interested in adopting a planter, please forward this brochure onto them. I know at the rec department, she can't keep the little sleeve filled up because parents are grabbing these brochures and, oh, great idea. This, they think that this adopt a planter is the best thing that that the recreation department has done. That's what a comment was. So Wendy and I, we developed that. And then the other thing that I would like to say is that I would like to thank Mr. Olson for taking care of the raised sidewalks downtown. I've seen numerous people near falling because of the raised sidewalks. The seats have all been fixed except for the one by Lupe Shoe, but that is in progress right now of getting fixed. But everything downtown is now starting to take shape. It's looking good. Hopefully we'll get some new people to adopt the planters. So I wanted to thank Mr. Olson for taking care of those needs, and for sure to give kudos to Nick Machado, because he has really been on it downtown, making sure that our water is up and running. They just fixed the 1.5-inch pipe down at Wells Fargo to feed the planters on that block. And so I thanked him personally today for that. So I just wanted to say thank you for this program and for supporting it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you two ladies for taking the lead on a lot of this. It's appreciated.
Yeah.
Sometimes it helps give me a little push.
Do you still have your planner? Weren't you across the street from
Valero.
Valero?
No, the Dino.
Yeah.
Claire.
Sinclair.
Yeah, do you still have yours?
Um,
Oh, that sounds like a no.
That's a no.
I'm going to do one.
Yeah. And Miss Marsh,
Yeah, I was gonna say, Miss Marsh.
Miss Marsh.
Yes.
So I'd like to tell you something about this Adopt a Planner program. It all started with Nick Reed's wife, Mackenzie. Mackenzie Reed is one that approached me, and she showed me, hey, there's this other town that they do this. And so I think I got together with, what was her name? She used to run Sheila.
Right.
So Sheila and I, along with Ray, I think we're the ones that started this. And I currently have the one spot. I was looking at your list here, and if someone would like to take it over for me, I think number 15. I got the northeast corner.
Yes. So if you do not fill out an application, and you currently had one last year, and you do not fill out an application.
Oh, you
and
will not
somebody-
have it again.
And somebody like Rotary says, I want that one, then
Yeah.
they will be approved for that one.
Oh, so then they could steal it from
Because there was no applications from last year. There was nothing. The rec department had absolutely nothing.
Well, yeah, it's because we didn't know that it needed to redo it. We just all kind of kept doing it, and
Right.
some people kind of
So
fell off.
you do not have.
Gotcha. That's good to know.
Does your
So you can tell your
gardener,
partner to stop
Yeah.
doing
does
it.
your gardener want to take your?
Hey, listen, it doesn't matter how it gets done as long as it gets done.
Well, I, Mr. Gibson, he didn't want to do his, and I said, but why not? You hired your gardener to do it, and it looks absolutely fabulous down this whole stretch. All right, I'll do it. So now he's gonna maintain his, and so.
Now, how many do you have available? Do you know off the top of your
I
head?
don't right off, we have 20, so probably about half are available.
14, 15.
Yeah. Available. But she just now put it on the website last week, I believe. And they should talk into it.
Wendy, can you speak into the microphone so everyone can hear you?
Yeah.
Two. Yep.
Right over here. Can you speak into the microphone, Wendy, so that everyone can hear you?
Yeah, we can't hear you if you don't talk on the microphone.
She didn't want to speak tonight.
I'm used to just shouting out. No, Stuart and Patricia both have a garden and you need to fill out an application again.
Well, I'd like to let someone else have the opportunity.
You don't want your garden?
Well, no, I want it, but it seems like there's a lot of people that also would like it, and I
Well,
want to
but we-
share.
We Probably have 12 to 15 available.
All right, if no one
And
takes it.
there
I'll
are
do it.
some who had no water that, now there's water.
Yeah,
So
But you guys have a list of what are available, which ones are available?
I'm sorry.
No, but the rec department does.
Rec does?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I would just like to add one other thing. Working downtown in the planters, we hear it all the time from citizens. Thank you for what you do. Thank you. You're making it look
Can,
so beautiful.
I'm sorry, can you please
Oh,
speak into the,
can't
mic?
hear
We
my
have
voice?
people online who, if you're
No one
not
can hear.
talking in the mic, they
Oh.
can't hear you.
So working downtown in the planters, we get stopped all the time from citizens walking downtown, driving downtown, thanking us for taking care of the planters and watering the plants. So they are much, much appreciative, the community, of what this program represents.
Right
or
on.
offers. Yeah.
Thank you.
I thank you.
Any other public comment?
Anybody online?
Thank you for your patience. I appreciate the opportunity to speak today. And hello, Mayor and Council members, Alex Walker, 1126 Mission Drive. I wanted to stand here today to proudly represent Lemoore Rotary. This past Saturday, the Lemoore Rotary hosted its bed build. We partnered with Sleep in Heavenly Peace based in Visalia. And at last year's craft feed, we raised the money to sponsor for 20 beds. And to again reiterate the importance of this project, these beds go to children who currently do not have beds, such as if they're in foster homes or going into new foster homes, or just something in their life situation just led to them not having a bed. Providing a child a bed gives them confidence in school and increases their grades, increases their self-esteem. And it's just a privilege to be able to have a bed. And this is a need that exists in our community. And we're very happy to participate in this program for the past 3 years to provide beds to children who need them. I want to give a huge thanks and congratulations to the Lemoore Middle College Interact Group. Interact is a subset of Rotary. Those high schoolers are the greatest leaders I've ever met. They have a capacity and a commitment to our community and demonstrate leadership. And I want to give them a huge shout out for coming out and helping us with the hard work that is assembling beds. I also want to thank Robinson's Interiors in Hanford for hosting the warehouse that we had this event at. I also want to thank the people of our community who attended last year's craft feed, who gave money and participated in our craft feed so we can put on projects such as this. I also want to give a shout out to the mayor who participated in our bed build, not only through attending our craft feed, but also coming out last Saturday. And we put out a work of drilling holes into different wood boards. And we really appreciate you coming out to support that, to see that project firsthand so we can deliver results to our community. I wanted to also share that these beds, even though we only completed the bed frames themselves, the backboards of the beds, they will be completed soon and will be delivered to our local community, mostly in Lemoore. And these beds, in addition to being the bed frame itself, is going to have a mattress, comforter, sheets, pillows, and the children are going to be able to pick out the sheets that they want, whether it's SpongeBob, Spider-Man, princesses, the whole shebang, whatever they want to make it their own. I really appreciate our community. God bless Lemoore, and thank you for the opportunity to speak tonight. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other public comment? None online, Marissa? Okay, we will move on to, there's no ceremonial presentation. Department and city manager reports.
So good evening, Mayor and council members. Frank Rivera, Public Works.
Good evening, Mayor and council members. Just want to update you on a few projects that are up and running. As you probably noticed, Panda Express is now in the frame mode. They were supposed to have the traffic signal back on normal operation in the last week, so we'll get back on them. They just have a couple of sections of concrete that need to be poured back in place, and then they'll move the fence onto their property. So hopefully by the end of the week they'll have that intersection back in normal mode until they. There'll be one other event when they switch over power that will have to go back to the same sequence. Lennar subdivision, Jose Perez, Diego Lopez and I were out string lining the subgrade. So they actually, because of the water, they actually lime treated the soil to dry it up faster. So basically it's like a 12-inch section of concrete now. So it's ready to go. So they'll probably be pouring curb and gutter next week. And then following that, they'll probably be doing the subgrade, the base rock to build the road structure. So then the other thing is Tacos Los Juanes. I hear that I think now they have They have their service. PG&E came out and did an inspection, gave them a few items to correct. So I'm assuming within the month, they'll probably be opening at
Good for
Tacos
them, yeah.
Los Juanes. Yes. Also too, the plan and the application for the streetlights on the wood poles on Iona. We also are adding streetlights to Champion Street, and I think there's a few on Vine Street across from the new trail. The application's been submitted. We requested kind of a time frame on how long it'll take them to actually put the lights on the poles. So I will update you on that weekly update that you get on Fridays. I'll actually update you when we have kind of an ETA on when they'll actually install the streetlights. Anyway, that's all I have for you now.
Oh, wait, how about Cedar and what was that intersection by the school? Weren't we supposed to be in a street light there?
19th. Cedar 19th.
Cedar 19.
That's a street light there. Yeah. So our guys have just been shorthanded. They're gonna tackle that on their own. They have the hole dug. I think they just have a board over it for now, but we do have a street light. We have the light fixture. So Nick and his crew, along with a contractor with a crane, are gonna be doing that hopefully, within the month.
Oh, wow.
They
Right
should
on.
have that complete. Yeah.
Did our solar lights ever show up?
Yes, it's over at the CMC. It's the light that is illuminating the electrical charging station.
Oh, okay.
So yeah, go check it out. Works pretty good.
So Frank, on Cedar, though, from Cedar all the way down to Silverado, the intersection of 19th to Silverado, I think there's 3 lights on Cedar.
So those would have to be a city project. So probably I'd have to look at those. So
Those would be great for solar. If we put some on those, no digging, no nothing, it's a wide street, just,
I think what's the problem is that we have that high voltage line. And so that's why there's not street lights on that side. If you're talking about the east side of the
East
street.
side.
East side of yes, on the east side
Yeah,
of the
so
street.
there's a
But
high-
there
Yeah,
are lights at the end where there's nobody living. We
yeah.
have streetlights there.
I'd have to look at that, but I think the reason why is because that high voltage line, we can't put
I don't
our,
see any high voltage line going over Cedar
um,
on 19th.
It's on 19th.
On 19th, there's,
on
north,
19th.
south,
You're
but
talking about Cedar.
I'm talking east, west.
Cedar, yeah, Cedar, that residential south, they probably follow the old standard but yeah, we'll. have to
They
look at
follow
that.
no standard.
Or no standard.
Yes, yes. But
Yeah.
I'm just saying, rather than digging up
Yeah.
streets or anything, but
It could
to
be
me,
solar,
those would
yeah.
be
Mr.
perfect for a
Rivera, do
solar.
you have anything
application.
else
Yeah.
regarding the report?
No, that's it.
Okay.
All right.
Good.
Okay,
Any other
thank-
questions from council?
Thanks, Frank.
You're welcome.
Thanks.
Okay, back to me. So good evening again, Mayor and council members. Few things. We declared an emergency due to the flooding several weeks ago. To date, we have spent about $63,000 clearing the Fox ditch, making room for stormwater runoff, berming all the wells by the college, moving equipment out and berming wells at the North Well Field. Those are being submitted to Cal OES through the county for reimbursements. To put it into perspective right now, what's running down the river and what's coming across our North Well Field. I just received a video. We do have a breach on our North Well Field. We have probably a 3-inch hole that is running directly into our well field as of about less than an hour ago. KRCD is coming out tonight to plug that hole, but we're starting to see some failure. So not great news, but the wells are still good. So we're going to continue to tackle it as we go. And that one kind of caught me off guard. And I was sitting here and I looked at that message. So Mr. Quello is one that found that and called that in and sent it over to the city. So I appreciate him helping us out there on that one. Our partners out on the river, our landowners, I'm going out there 3 days a week. They're out there every day, kind of monitoring and looking. And then for people to kind of you hear how they're releasing all this water out of Pine Flat, to put it into perspective for residents. So they're flowing at 12,000 CFS. So what that really means, and to kind of put it into perspective for the average person, because even I don't understand when you start talking CFS and water, but they're releasing 24,000 acre feet of water in 24 hours from Pine Flat into the river. To put that into perspective, that is enough water released in one day to supply this city for water for all of our businesses and residents for over 3 years. We use about 7,100 acre feet a year in Lemoore to maintain our city. So there, right now, we have 3 years worth of water every 24 hours leaving that dam. And this is going to continue throughout the summer. So to kind of put it into perspective and how direly more dams and more water storage is needed, because this water's going to end up in the ocean. So I just wanted to kind of put that in perspective. It's kind of mind blowing. The amount of water that's out there right now, and the snow melt's coming. So, right now, in April, the plan is to release approximately 450,000 acre feet from the dam. In May, it's going to go up to 950,000 acre feet. June, 1,070,000 acre feet of water, and then back to 950,000. And that's the update as of right now. There's a lot of water. So they're asking people stay away from the canals, stay off the banks. It's just essential personnel, and KRCD is monitoring the river banks and shoring everything up. So that's kind of the update. There's a lot of water, and it's going to be flowing all summer. And that's all I have. Thank you.
Okay, moving on to consent calendar, section 3. Items considered routine in nature are placed on the consent calendar. They will all be considered and voted upon in one vote as one item unless council member or member of the public requests individual consideration. 3-1, approval of minutes, regular meeting, April 4th, 2023. 3-2, approval resolution 2023-10, intention to annex and include additional territories, track 820, and public facilities maintenance district number 1 in the city of Lemoore, and the levy and collect annual assessments in such annexed territories for fiscal year 2023 to 2024 and thereafter. 3-3, approval resolution 2023-11, intention to annex and include additional territories, tract 848 and public facilities maintenance district number 1 in the city of Lemoore, and levy and collect annual assessments in such annexed territories for fiscal year 2023 through 2024 and thereafter. Anybody want to pull anything from the consent calendar?
Move to approval.
Anyone from the public want to pull anything? Okay, I have a motion by Mr. Gornick,
Second.
a second by Lyons. Mr. Gornick,
Aye.
Mr. Lyons,
Yes.
Mr. Worth,
Yes.
and I vote aye. We removed the public hearing. Moving on to new business, section 5. 5-1, report and recommendation, council member liaison appointments to regional boards and commission.
Good evening, Mayor and council members. So due to the vacancy that was on council, there were vacant seats left on the boards and commissions that the council serves on. So I'm just bringing this item back to you if you want to fill those vacancies, or if you want to do a total appointment of all of the boards and commissions. It's really up to you. I'm just seeking direction.
I know when we brought it up before, everybody was pretty set on staying on their boards that they're on now. So maybe, are you guys looking at the direction of just filling the vacancies?
Mm-hmm.
All right.
All right, so the first one I have is for a primary on the KCAO board, which is held the third Wednesday at 4:15 p.m.
Okay. And is our new council member available during that time? Do we know?
Yeah, I'd like to nominate Mr. Garza.
Hold on. I do believe he said he could do either the 8 a.m. or the 4:30s in the afternoon, and he has board meetings Tuesdays. So he had to jump off for a board meeting at 6:30.
Yeah.
He's got Tuesday board meetings?
I think it's a special one.
Special, yeah, sorry, special meeting. But I don't. Yeah, I think
You need
Wednesday.
a second?
What?
You need a second?
No. I still would like to nominate him though. Or is that how we're doing this or no?
No.
I don't think.
Oh,
we have
we're not,
a-
doing it- we're not doing it like we do it the fun way, like when someone's not here, you nominate them for everything and they
No.
get it
We,
all.
I mean, we can just for fun.
See, we gotta make sure someone's there. I know one of them's the alternate for mine.
Okay. It looks like 4:15 for the KCAO may be doable.
I'd like to nominate him for that also.
Well, do we want to ask him?
He's in the board.
He's in the
Yeah.
meeting.
I
right
know,
now.
that's what I'm saying. How about
He can't
we,
be
No,
asked.
he
Can we-
did let the clerk know, and I
Oh,
know
okay.
that he could do either like the 8 a.m. meeting that is at the King's Waste and
KWRA.
Recycling, or the late afternoon, the 4:30s, because he was gonna do one of the piggyback meetings that go from like 3:30 to 4:30 and roll into meetings, and I was like, well, those are kind of grouped, and
Yeah,
I
it's
believe
kind of
you're on
one
those.
meeting.
Yeah, so I don't see why we could pencil him in for that, and
what about?
I'll
the
let him know that
alternate?
there's a meeting tomorrow night, actually, because
We'll fill the alternates, too.
Jeff Garner is chomping at the bit to get the new board member there.
Yeah.
So I'll pass that along to him, and if for some reason he cannot fulfill that role, I will send out a notice to council.
I
And the
can't do
way that works right now on the list, I'm the alternate for that. But KCAO does not, they don't allow an alternate. You have an
Yeah.
individual, and that's the only person that can vote. So if the primary cannot show up, you can have an alternate go to the meeting and listen and bring back data, but they pretty much
Have
cannot
no vote.
participate and vote.
Gotcha.
So it's just basically one primary. That's the only commission that does not have a secondary.
So lucky Mr. Garza.
Yeah.
Congratulations, John.
And then the next vacancies are the K-CAPTA, the K-CAG, and then the Kings County Vehicle Abatement Committee, which
Are the alternates though, right?
alternates, and Mr. Orth is the primary on those.
I'd like to nominate.
Those are the ones he couldn't make because
Oh.
it's they start at 3:30, I believe.
Oh, what- what-
4:30.
Wednesday.
Wednesday, last Wednesday,
Can't do those ones either.
it's last Wednesday, and it's actually starts at 2.
Oh.
Well, no, one of them's, oh, okay. No,
I can be the alternate for those I show up for them anyway. So if nobody else is available, I'll do that.
All right. Thank you.
You better show up, Mr. Worth. No, I'm just
I
kidding.
do, I show
He
up.
does.
And then
Is
the
that
next
all of them?
vacancy is on King's Waste and Recycling, and Mayor Matthews is the primary. So we need an alternate, and it's the last Wednesday at 8 a.m. Last Wednesday of the month.
Oh, that is one that Mr. Garza said he could absolutely do.
Mr. Lyons nominates Mr. Garza.
I'd like to nominate Mr. Garza for that one.
With that, was that all of them?
There's one last one,
Oh.
San Joaquin Valley Air Quality Control Board. I don't have a set date on that one.
It's this Thursday, but I'll be there.
Is it
Okay, so
primary?
this is for an
It's for
alternate.
alternate.
I'd like to nominate Mr. Garza.
Who's the primary on that?
Me.
Miss Matthews, Mayor
then-
Matthews.
You can't be this alternate, can you?
No,
Just-
I'm the primary.
It only hasn't, who's it? Is the alternate need to be done?
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
vacant.
When does this meet?
When
What
is
time?
it?
They don't have set date.
It's
like
been,
the
this
last
is our
Thursday of the
first
month usually or something like
meeting that is gonna be in person this coming Thursday. I think before, I think it was also in the evening on Zoom, but this is,
32nd of every month.
Well, I'll
it's
put,
usually once a year.
I'll
so.
jump in for the alternate to that one.
It's once a year.
Mhm.
Big commitment there.
I was gonna. jump
Unless
in
you're
for Friday.
selected
I'm going
on the
Thursday,
committee.
That's why I'm asking.
But-
I'm gonna throw something at
An
you.
alternate once a year.
Way to step up, Councilman.
Yeah.
Gore.
Alright, I think that
Is there any comment from the
Takes a-
public?
Thanks,
on the
Nathan.
Board
Takes a village.
organization?
Thanks,
No,
Johnny.
seeing none. Okay, we'll move on. Thank you, Johnny. Brief city council reports and requests. Mr. Lyons.
So the Commission on Aging, everything's going good there. I was gonna be a part of the egg thing downtown for the Easter day. But I had my nieces, and so I decided to go and do that with them instead of do the fire department thing. But that was that was wild. That whole situation was kind of nuts. There's like 10 million eggs out there. And they all went nuts. And it was kind of fun. And it was kind of hectic and kind of chaotic at the same time. So thank you for the Department of Recreations for doing that, putting that on. Chief, thank you for your report and all your people. Nathan, your office and all your people. And that's it. I'm done.
I too did attend the Easter egg thing, the Easter egg event, and it was very much nice to see how many citizens were out there, how many volunteers. We had a lot of volunteers, all from a church that traveled a long ways. They traveled like an hour to come here to do that. So that was really, really nice to see that. I really liked the idea that Mayor Matthews and I were brainstorming about how nice it would be to have a drone take some pictures, and our city manager picked up his phone, and 20 minutes later there was a drone flying over our head. So thank you, Chief and Nathan, for that. That was very awesome, even though it only was up there for 10 minutes because of whatever. We all know why, but we'll leave it alone. That was awesome though. It was very, very cool. Out beyond their control of why it had to come back down. It was a lot of people, and I think next year is going to be better, hopefully. And I'd like to thank Nathan for everything. It's a lot of work when we have an emergency, and all the hard work and everything that the city staff does and the police do and everything, the fire department. I just want to let everyone know that, the budget comes up. It's there's a lot of money that it costs to run the city, and sometimes everyone doesn't get what they believe they need. But we do the best we can to make sure everybody has what they need to do everything. I'll be quiet at that. Thank you.
Ditto, and thanks to all the staff for all the great work they're doing. I want to take just a couple minutes. I passed out some things to the council members, and my intention here is to get us to begin thinking about general plan updates. And the first document I passed out had to do with the broadband for all, digital equity and broadband. I don't know if any of you know, but the state is investing over $10 billion throughout the state in putting middle mile broadband throughout the state. San Joaquin Valley has been targeted as one of the areas. We have three targets or three areas in the San Joaquin Valley that are highlighted. I've highlighted the counties on this page here for you to see the proposed miles that are going to be expended in the valley. And then also underneath that, there's a section called Affordable Connectivity Program, data by county. The state runs a program of affordable connectivity. So individuals in our residents in our communities who cannot afford the rates that providers charge for high-speed broadband are given a subsidy to do that. I also forwarded to council members a couple of articles that appeared in some national press publications. One of the things that's happening in our country is that because of the pandemic, we all were moved to a working from home. And one of the things that's now occurring is people are beginning to see that more and more communities, organizations, municipal and private, are adapting to allowing people to work at home. One of the things that puts our communities at disadvantage in the valley is that we do not have the connectivity that some communities do. So it also puts us at a disadvantage in terms of being able, some of our citizens, to acquire jobs that they do. So how does this connect to the general plan? Well, I think we should give it some consideration in terms of the kinds of requirements we want to have developers bring into our city and how they work with internet providers and the kind of speeds that we want, because we want our residents to have the same opportunities that other residents in other communities have to work with communities that may not be in this municipality.
Can I interrupt you real quick? Would this be something that you may want to bring back for more discussion for.
Absolutely. That's why I'm doing it. But I didn't want to just give it a cursory response. It's the last item I want to show you is that I gave you some figures on Kings County. We have in Kings County 43,000 households. Of those households, 23,000 or 55% would qualify for this affordable care plan. I've broken down by zip code what the numbers are for the city of Lemoore. We have 12,000 households, a little over 12,000 households. About 3,900 of those are eligible for the affordable care plan, but we're probably under 30% of the households who qualify for that. A number of communities and counties are doing a lot of outreach to increase that percentage every month. And that's something else that we need to talk about in terms of how we might assist agencies to do that in the future and put that in part of our general plan as we move forward. So with that, thank you.
Thank you, sir. Just want to piggyback on what my other council members have said about staff and the great job that they're doing. I also want to highlight the refuse department and just remind people the hard work that they're doing and the state laws that are coming down. It's not them, it's the laws that they're being forced to enforce. So please remember that when they may contact you, be nice. It's not not what they want to do. It's just what is coming down specifically with SB 1383. So don't shoot the messenger, please. Also piggyback on the Easter egg hunt, a huge event. I want to say it was probably the most attended event I've seen in a very long time. I don't know about the numbers if we have that, but a lot of people. I also attended the Cal Cities Leadership Summit in Sacramento this last week. There were some very helpful sessions, lots of helpful information and great networking with other city leaders. Also want to point out that Lemoore Days is coming up this Friday through Sunday. There may or may not be a dunk tank. I did get a text message that the dunk tank is in repair right now. But if it is up and running, then at 3 o'clock, you could dunk the city manager for a fee. Not sure what the fee is, but he will be in the dunk tank at 3 o'clock as long as it's running. I will also be in the tank. I'm not sure what time. And I'm not lying. I really don't know what time. So
You're either right before me or right after me.
one of those two. So come out and enjoy Lemoore Days and enjoy all the booths and the vendors and all the festivities out there. And with that, we will adjourn.